to the pilot episode of I'm With Cooking. My name is Scott, my wife JC is behind the camera, and this episode is to let us know whether any idiot can follow a recipe. See, I'm 48 years old, and I can do a fair number of things, but I have done very, very little cooking in my life. And it's the pandemic, and we're sitting at home, so why not spend the weekend seeing if I can follow a recipe and figure out what everything means on it. We've got a recipe that's been sent in by my mom. I have not seen it yet, and I'm about to turn it over for the first time. And it is Mom's potato latkes. I have all the ingredients theoretically behind me that JC has bought for me, and we're going to start by trying to find them. First, we've got 2 to 3 large potatoes. Okay, we have potatoes in here. We'll go with 3. 1 large onion, 3 eggs. Onion, and we have a dozen eggs. Maybe a dozen, who knows. Okay, a teaspoon of baking soda. That should be interesting. Probably not in the fridge. Baking powder, is that the same thing? So here's the deal. Our agreed upon rules for the first time is I get 3 times to ask JC a question. I don't want to use one quite yet. She's agreed to stop me if I'm ever going to do anything that's going to burn down the house. So I've got that protection as well. So we're gonna bring out the baking powder, and maybe it's baking soda, maybe not. I'm also not allowed to look at the internet, which would help. But I don't see any baking soda, so we're gonna keep looking. So that's like Arm & Hammer, I think. Okay, what else do we have? We can come back. Half tablespoon of salt. Okay, so I know where the salt shaker is, theoretically. That's probably not a half tablespoon. Maybe it is. Pepper to taste. Okay. Do we have pepper? I think this is pepper. We could probably use that. Vegetable oil for frying. Okay. Okay, I see applesauce on here, so I'm going to bring out the applesauce. And sour cream is in the fridge. I'll leave it in the fridge. But vegetable oil. Oh boy. Okay, maybe it's in the fridge? We have dressing. We have soy sauce. There's the sour cream. What would vegetable oil be? Okay, this might be tricky. Let's get our first snag. I think we have some stuff. Oh, okay, so we have some things over here. We have vinegar, red wine, balsamic vinegar, sesame oil. Sesame oil is kind of like vegetable oil, maybe. Honey, that will help. Cloves or something like that. Okay. See if we can find cooking stuff somewhere. There's nothing there. Okay, we got some things down here. We have salt! Ah! Salt. We have vanilla. We have more vanilla. We have, oh, vegetable oil! Yay! Okay. Maybe with baking soda down here. See granulated sugar. I see husk powder. Okay, and we have some stuff in bags. So I bet this is flour. Okay, let's see if I can figure this out. I know if I saw Arm & Hammer, I'd know that was baking soda. And I don't think baking powder is the same as baking soda. Maybe there's instructions in here? Okay, our baking powder makes the lightest, fluffiest cakes, quick breads, and baked goods naturally. Baking powder can be substituted for baking soda in most recipes. Yes! Though in more delicate baked goods, it may affect the flavor. We're doing delicate baked goods, so this is going to be my baking soda, and I hope that's correct. Okay, so we've got everything out. 1. Peel and grate the potatoes. Use a grater or food processing grating attachment. Plunge in cold water, then press out the liquid. Leave to drain. Okay. So, we have the potatoes. I have washed this ahead of time to set up the kitchen. And I know this thing, which I only know because I clean it all the time, because I do the dishes. This is a peeler, I believe. So if I can figure out how to use this, I should be able to peel the potatoes. Grate the potatoes is a weird term. I don't know how to grate potatoes, but I imagine that means to make them small. Now we do have a food processor grating, so I think we have a food processor somewhere. Okay, let's get the potatoes out. Let's start by peeling the potatoes, and then at that point I could kind of think about this. Okay, well this kind of works. I probably need some place to put the potato peels. I don't know why we can't do this with the... I mean, potato skins taste great, so I love potato skins, so I don't know why we can't just do this with the skin on. But it is coming off, so that part's good. This might take a while. So bear with us, and we may be editing this. You might be seeing this happen in fast motion if I can figure out how to do video editing. But look, it's working. Okay, I probably need some place to figure out where to put the peels, so I'm going to take my basket for compost food, and set that aside to put the peels in. Okay, I wonder if I have to get out every part of the peel or just most of it. Got these little islands of peels still left. Okay, this is going to be, I don't know, maybe it won't be that slow. Okay, so big motions take up a lot of that. That's great.
Could you move the salt?
Yes. Put these aside so you can see what I'm doing here. Trying not to cut up my finger. So they've got these little holes in here, like I think they're called potato eyes. I don't know how to get them out. Got most of the peel off the top. Okay, as you can see, I'm just about done with the cutting of the third potato. So this is what one looks like. So it's got these little indentations, and I'm thinking that that should be okay, I hope. I guess I got a little bit here. I have not learned anything since from JC. She told me I'm doing a good job, but other than that, not much. Okay, so this is this really weird brown spot here. I don't think it's going anywhere. Well, I guess it kind of is. I suppose I got rid of some of that, but that's kind of inside. So, okay, we've got three things. And I'm going to put them here on the drying rack. That's probably not what it's for, but I want to get rid of the shavings. Okay, and I've been avoiding this problem. Grate the potatoes. Okay, so I know for potato latkes they have to be smaller than this. So that must be how we make them smaller. Now, what I do know, I have this thing. Could this be for mashing potatoes, or grating and mashing the same? I don't know. That's a possibility. I do think we have a food processor, so I'm going to look for the food processor. Somewhere around here. And I know what one looks like, because I generally deal with the attachments for cleaning. Ah, okay, here we go. Cuisinart. Never used one of these ever. There's a first, always. So I know this from what I wash in the dishwasher. So there's this piece. This piece goes on here. And there's a thing that says bowl lock to the right. So theoretically, am I supposed to lock this? How do I think that should be fine. How do I lock the bowl? Okay, there's these little thingies. And there are thingies here. There we go. I heard a lock. Okay, so I'm going to assume that that goes in here. I'm going to look ahead of time because I do know that once I start to grate the potatoes, then I need someplace to put them. It says plunge in cold water, then press out the liquid. Okay. I don't know how that's supposed to work. Maybe with a drainer. Let's get some kind of like pan or something. I don't know, like something to hold them. So I've got to have something to put the potato pieces. Cold water that has a cover that I can then remove the cold water after I press out the liquid. Maybe that's what this is for? Okay, let's get a... pans. Ah, I know where pans are. Okay, I'm going to use this. I'm going to cover this with a drain. Press, 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 press. Okay, now, but before that, I need to get these potatoes in here. It also says a food processor grating attachment. Is that a grating attachment? It's gotta be, right? I mean, or at least it does the job. Okay, so I clearly have to cut these in small enough pieces so that they'll fit into the food processor. So let's use a knife for that. Why not? And for proof of test, I think this is enough potatoes. So we're going to cover this. Okay, this is locked There we go. Got that locked. Find a place to plug this in. Okay, got plugs there. Maybe that's what we do. Unplug the toaster. Plug this in. Wish me luck. And let's start with low. See what happens. See what it looks like inside. Okay, well, it's got lots of tiny pieces. I don't know how we're going to get this off. I guess we gotta use some kind of. Okay, looks like that did its job. But we're going to have to do this a lot because that's a lot of potatoes. Okay. So I need to. There we go. This is what it looks like. Looks grated, I suppose.
Show it to us again. Thank you.
And now let's find a pot to put this in. Now, how do we get that in there? Well, we have a spoon, we have a spatula kind of thingy. Let's use this thing. Why not? It's like flatter. Okay, so we've got most of that out. This is what our first piece of potato looks like there.
Tilt it down again for me.
Okay, so we're going to do this about, looks like 5 more times. Cut, grate, and put it in the thing. Oh boy, we're going to have to do this with the onion too. Okay, that's. Okay, second bit. Put the top on. Lock it in place. We can figure out how to do that again. There we go. Lock the cover. Cover's locked. Put it on low and pray. Uh-oh, it's not working. Did we load the... So, no, it's working. That's locked in. This is locked. That's locked. And it's not working. It's not working without this. Why would it not work? Plugging it somewhere else and see if that's what's going on. Well, it looks like I broke the Cuisinart. Don't know how. So this thingy should spin regardless if I put a thing on it. I'm stumped. Don't know that I want to do this without a Cuisinart. Oh boy. Now, of course the Cuisinart has no directions other than hit low or high. once more putting the bowl on and see if that helps, but I think it is. Okay, looks like I'm going to JC for help. JC, did I break the Cuisinart?
Probably not.
Okay.
All right, I'm coming in front of the camera to assist. To be clear, the only thing you are asking me right now is this broken?
I would like to know how to get the Cuisinart to work.
So, the Cuisinart has a safety mechanism. It needs to know that the lid is there and the bowl is there. It won't ever work just like this.
Okay.
So this little tab needs to be in this slot or else it never works.
Got it.
And that's just for safety so you don't blow things everywhere.
Okay.
So there you go. Should work now.
Thank you very much. Woo.
That was the first of Scott's 3 Ask JC opportunities.
Okay, so we have to have this little plastic thing in here, and that locks in place. And now we're on the Cuisinart. I feel like I should try high just to see what happens. Okay, the pieces are still big, so I think just leave it on for a little bit. See how we're doing. We've got a few tiny little pieces, so I guess we've got to keep going until they get small. Maybe I put too much in? Okay, that has to be here, we know that. Okay, so I feel like we put too much in here because we've got these little pieces, about 5 or 6 tiny pieces that are not getting any smaller. So I'm thinking maybe we just leave that for the next time. So I'm going to take the top out. I'm going to pour the rest of this into our pan. Take the pieces that obviously are too big. Try to pull some of this stuff out. And now I'm going to take the pieces that were left, I'm going to put this back in, I'm going to put the big pieces back in, and we'll add them to the next one. And that's what we got so far. So it looks like we got about the right size pan for this. So we're still on step 1, people. This is going to be fun. Okay. Cut our second potato. Maybe if we just cut all the pieces like this and then we make them smaller. This in multiple steps. I bet there's a bigger Cuisinart too. There must be a bigger I don't know where a bigger Cuisinart is, but we have a bigger food processor. I bet we do. New rice cooker down here. We have a big Cuisinart! Well, look at this. Okay. Who knew we had multiple Cuisinarts? Well, this might help. Look at this baby. May even have a grading system on it. Okay. 14-cup food processor, and this is what, 1 cup? Okay. Okay, so what do I know about these things? Well, we've had practice on the small one. This is like a pushy down thing that does that somehow. Got a pretty powerful blade on here. With this, which I don't know what is. Oh, this is the thing to push down in here. Maybe. Okay. Let's pour this stuff into the big thing. Try not to kill ourselves on the blade. And how does this work? So I've seen this pushy down thing somewhere where you can, I guess, put this here. That goes there. We can just keep that there if we're not doing any of that, or, I mean, does this, how would this even work? Is this even worth it? I don't even know how this thing, I have the slightest idea. Okay, this clearly has a thing on top, and maybe I just avoid using it altogether. Okay, let's move some of this stuff over, because this is crazy. Okay. So, this is the big food processor. It has a cover. On the cover, it has this big oval thing. And that oval thing has 2 more pieces. It has this thing, which clearly is designed to go inside the oval thing, which pushes this thing down. I have no idea what that is. And then inside is another tiny cylinder that this thing could go in. So, theoretically, this goes in here, this goes in here, and it pushes stuff into there. How? This is a hole in it, so I don't even know. I mean, I suppose you could put like broccoli stalks or something like that and push it in, maybe? Then what's the wider part? There's a max fill here. So you put liquids in here, but it doesn't have any way to go down. So I'm going to ignore this part, other than have it covered. Obviously it needs to be covered. So I'm going to ignore this part and do what I was doing before. Cut them into little pieces, put them in the big processor, and just ignore this thing. So, okay. Let's go back. Seriously did not know we didn't have this giant food processor, because I've cleaned the small one a lot. I don't remember ever cleaning this big one, but I'm sure I have. I don't remember a lot of things. Okay. Okay, this piece just has a lot of brown on it, so I'm just going to leave it out. Okay. So here's the weird part. This stuff has started to turn pink. A little concerning, but okay. Okay, so I'm now going to plug this into the extension port. And let's do the same thing we did with this big one. We've got the cutty thing in there. We'll put the cover on. I'll make sure we put the cover on right. So we have a little bit of technical problems with the camera, but it looks like we got it to this point. I plugged in the food processor. I have not tried it yet, and hopefully this giant Cuisinart is going to work. And it doesn't. So what I know from before is this is probably the safety. So let's figure out if there's a... So the last food processor I used had that thing where it went into, had to lock into the big part. This is not, can't tell. So this is, nope, it's not quite in. Ah, this has a big switchy thing. I bet that big switchy thing has to go into this big switchy thing. Okay, now it seems locked. Covering. And there we go. That looks more normal. This doesn't even have a high or low. It just has on or off pulse. I think we're just going to turn it on, and it seems to be doing a pretty good job of cutting this stuff off. This is much easier than the smaller Cuisinart, I'll give you that much. Okay. Oh, look at this. And now we have what looks like mashed potatoes, which is more of what I was expecting. Do we want to do that with this part too? Maybe. It's weird that this part looks pink and this part looks gray, but I suppose we should pour this in and give it a chance to grate with the big stuff.
Okay, safety interruption. Show me how it looks pink. Yeah, I'm a little worried that maybe there was some soap or something that got in there. Maybe it wasn't fully rinsed.
Well, this is pink too.
Yeah. Here, I'm just going to give them a quick taste. I just want to make sure that... Okay, they taste fine. I'm a little worried there may have been something in here that shouldn't be, but it tastes okay. It doesn't taste bitter. So I'm going to say we're okay.
Okay.
For what it's worth, that may have just been that something needed to be rinsed before it went in. But it doesn't taste like soap, doesn't taste chemical, so I'm going to say we're okay to proceed with the pink potatoes.
Okay. Okay. That's a good point. I didn't rinse any of this stuff. I mean, I washed it when I washed it the last time, but I probably should have rinsed some of this stuff before I started. Okay. I'm going to, this looks different than this, so I'm going to pour this stuff in here, and we're going to grate that too, so that all looks the same.
For the information of our viewers, you go ahead. For the information of our viewers, one of the last things that I made in this, in the smaller food processor, I did some chopping of beets, so it's probably some leftover beet juice was still in there. So, yeah, probably just didn't get rinsed fully. I just don't want people to think that I'm letting him poison us.
Okay, so I poured that in here, and now I'm going to turn it back on the processor. And we mixed it all in. Looks pretty good. Okay. I don't know if if that's grating, but it's something. So I'm going to pour all this. Now it says plunge in cold water and then press out the liquid. Leave to drain. Okay. So probably, don't know if I need to take the, I guess it's going to stay. I probably don't need to take the thing out. So I'm pouring this back in. And it fell in, of course it did. It's very interesting looking mashed potatoes. Okay. So, let's get the rest of this out. I feel like if I had like a big, like typical spatula, I know we have a little tiny one that we use for the cat food, but I didn't see anything bigger than this, so we're just using this thing with the holes in it for now. Okay, so we're going to try our best here. Plunge in cold water, then press out the liquid. Leave to drain. Add cold water? It's pretty liquidy now. How do you press out the liquid? I wonder if that's this press. I haven't the slightest idea how to do that. Okay, I'm going to read ahead in the instructions and see if we can get a hint. Peel and grate the onions combined with drained potatoes. So we must use the food processor for a rough consistency. Well, we did rough it. So it sounds like there was a food processor grating attachment that was supposed to make them small but not super small. And then we were supposed to make them even smaller. Well, that didn't happen. So we kind of messed this up already. Okay. And we're going to beat the eggs, add to the mixture, add baking soda, and then heat oil in a skillet. Okay. So I can certainly add cold water to this, but I don't know how to press out the liquid. I know how to drain it. And I wonder if it's impossible to press out the liquid because we made this stuff so small already. I'm worried if I add the cold water, I don't know how to get it out. So, I'm going to tell you what I have. I have one of these. This should be able to drain the water. So I could add cold water to this. I don't know why we're adding cold water, but okay. I don't know how to press out the liquid other than just to drain it. Okay, let's look down and see if there are other things that I could need help on, because maybe this is the... Okay, I'm going to use the second SJC.
All right. Scott has used his second Ask JC help. How can I help?
How do I plunge in cold water, then press out the liquid?
So,
I'm guessing I'm already a little late for this.
yes. So, you have created a puree instead of a grating, and that's why you're having trouble with this particular step. You're able to proceed with this, but you are going to have to get some of this liquid out. I would say you can probably ignore the part about plunging in water at this point, because as you noted, you've got a lot of liquid in here already. What I'm trying to think what's your best option to save here, because you do need to get this kind of dried out some. So maybe I think
Should I just put it in a
I would say maybe
a drainer?
like take a lid kind of like this and then like drain the excess liquid as much as you can.
Okay, well I should have a drinking thing.
Yep, you could try that.
Okay, so we're going to use this to drain.
Definitely not this for that.
Okay. So, welcome back. I'm going to pour this puree into this cup, which is hopefully going to get rid of it. Let me wash it, or rinse it at least. We've already broken the thing, but we're not going to start from the beginning. So I'm pouring all this in here. We need to get out some of the liquid. And the liquid's dripping out, so that's perfect. And there's no liquid in here, pretty much, so. I don't know if there's a way to just let this drain on its own or hold on to it. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this in the pan. I'm going to let this drain, and then I'm going to drain out all the water from the pan, and then I'll pour what's remaining left in the pan. So hopefully that'll work. So we got most of the water out, but looks like it's just going to be a slow drip, drip, drip while we work on the onions. So I'm going to let that sit in the sink. Okay. Okay, well we already know we didn't grate onions, so...
Potatoes.
We didn't grate the potatoes, so maybe we'll grate the onions. So maybe that just means make it into these small little chunky pieces. At this point, I don't know why we're not just pureeing the onions too. But we're gonna cut those. Yeah, might as well clean this out. So that's gonna suck for me. So we need to. This is one large onion. This is clearly one large onion. Peel and grate the onion. Okay, well, let's peel. I assume we're supposed to cut this top thingy off.
Annie.
Yeah, Kitty, you don't want to be anywhere around here. I imagine Kitty's will also start crying. Okay, I'm going to cut the bottom stalk off. And now we can peel a little bit more. I wonder if that's probably part that's, I mean, there's always parts of onions, right? This is the, don't know how many onion things there are to peel. Yes, I'm definitely peeling onion now at this point. I'm going to throw this away. Still got to cut this top part off. Okay, see if I can remember anything useful here. So I see these little lines in the onion. I'm wondering if I'm supposed to follow the lines. I have some vague memory of something like that. Maybe that will cause it not to cry. I mean, it's that or that. So let's go with that and see if that helps. No crying yet. These little, they look like this. They're cylinders, and I'm not crying too much. And I imagine once I try to cut in a different direction, it's going to be really bad. I'm really afraid to do that. So what if I just kind of pull these apart? It says we're supposed to grate the onions. How do you grate an onion? We clearly didn't know how to grate a potato. And now I can still feel myself starting to cry. So, I'm gonna wash my hands. Let's figure out what we can do. So I know, since we've already pureed the potatoes, we can just leave the onions kind of similar as they are, put them in the food processor, because clearly we need to do that at some point, and they'll get chopped as well. I could do that. Get rid of some potato pieces. These are chopped onions. What are grated? I have no idea what it means to grate an onion. I knew these things are for the potatoes, but that's not going to help with an onion. So I think what I'm going to do is cut these down a little bit more, not quite chopped. Probably going to really suck. And then I'm going to put them in the food processor. It says pulse 2 or 3 times in batches based on size. Use food processor for a rough consistency. Pulse 2 or 3 times in batches based on size. Okay. How do we do that? So I knew to see that there's a pulse button. You want to try and make these things smaller. I say at this point we just let the food processor do its work. It's pretty small already. See how we did with the potatoes. Okay, there's lots of sauce in here. We're going to throw out the sauce or the water. And this is pretty dry, so it says to put it in batches, but then what are you supposed to do with the batches? I guess pour it back in the pan. Okay, I'm gonna wash out this pan. I'm gonna put a little bit of this in and a little bit of the onions and then pour it into the pan. Nope, no, no. Where's that? This is here. It is not going into the right place. What is this? Not left in place? Is that what you get? There we go. Locked. Pulse. On. Off. Okay. No. Ah, this is not in the right spot anymore. And now we're pulsing. Okay, let me move this on camera. And pulse. Got the onions a little bit smaller. Yeah, I know this is long for a pulse, but what can I do? We've already pureed everything. So, we've got it small. So the onions are now mixed in. Okay. Oh, maybe do it in batches means do some of it and then add more stuff. Let's try that.
I'd just like to add a note, please feel free to proceed, but I have done some Googling and consulted a friend, and the potatoes turning pink is actually very normal. It's oxidization and shouldn't be of a concern.
Excellent. More pink potatoes. Okay, down 3 steps, because we've used food processor for a rough consistency. Now we need to beat the eggs, then add to the mixture. 3 eggs, we said. It's an egg beater. So, 3 eggs. Let's get a bowl for the eggs. Not really great at this stuff either, by the way. I don't make eggs very often, but I know enough about this now to break an egg. Eating an egg, we'll see how that goes. One egg. Two eggs. Try not to get anything inside. Third egg. Okay, I think I was able to avoid any of the shells. And now, how do we beat an egg? I have this, but this clearly isn't designed for hands. So maybe we have another tool that's better. Okay, we have this. This might work. Yeah, let's go with that. You have a thingy here, so clearly you can beat an egg with this thing, but it shouldn't be that hard, so let's try using our hands for this. Okay, so I think this is beaten as much as it can be, and now I'm going to take our pan and put the mixture in the pan. Let's clean this out. we're done food processing. So this is our mixture of potato and onions. So here's our potato and onion mixture. I'm now going to add the eggs to the mixture. Use this to get all of our Okay, good enough. Okay. Add baking soda, flour, salt, and pepper to mixture and mix well. Okay, so it says 1 TSP of baking soda. I believe that is a teaspoon. And 1 teaspoon. There's 2 sides to it, so I think we can do either one. I believe from my home ec days this has to be leveled. So that's pretty level. Add a teaspoon of that. Okay. Flour. A half cup of flour. Did I forget the flour? I don't think I grabbed the flour originally. Okay. I have 2 things that could be flour. I have this thing. It says cornstarch, so probably not flour. I have this thing. May or may not be the same thing. Just there. There's brown sugar. Let me see if there's anything in the back here. This as well. Any of these things can be flour. I also might just have flour in a bag that I can compare to. That's sugar. Okay, so these are our choices. One of these things is probably flour. One or more things is probably flour. So we have this. There's a lot of stuff. So, and I know you use a lot of flour, so I'm guessing that's the flour. But we also have this, just smaller. Could be the flour. And we have this thing. They all look very similar, and you'd think it might be worth labeling them. But I know that flour comes in big containers, and so I'm going to assume the biggest container is flour, because I think you need flour more than anything else. I need to find a half cup. Oh, I know where the half cups are. We have cup containers here. Quarter cup, third cup, half cup. So, I'm going to take half cup of this unknown substance. Ooh, now this is interesting because it kind of looks like, could it be baking soda? So one of these things is probably baking soda, maybe? I don't think it's worth using the last thing, and I'm imagining that I'm going to take this to be the flour. Okay, what else are we adding? We're adding salt and pepper. Okay. We have the Morton salt, and we're supposed to put in a half tablespoon. 1/2 tablespoon. Done. And pepper to taste. Okay. Who knows how much pepper that's supposed to be, but we'll throw in some pepper. And mix well. Okay. I think we can just mix with one of these. Well, it's kind of acting like I might imagine flour to act, but who knows? What's next? Heat oil in a skillet or griddle until a flick of water from your finger splatters and sizzles on the oil. Drop this batter into the skillet by the tablespoonful. Okay. Fry over medium heat to a crispy brown on the bottom and repeat. Okay, so here's the mix. It looks like it's pretty mixed, pretty well mixed. You can see there. So let's get rid of it. Let's get the skillet ready. Okay. Heat oil in a skillet or griddle. I've seen JC cook with this thing before. So there's a long flat thing that plugs in. Let's see if I can find it. Has a plug. Don't see anything in here that plugs in. Nothing in here. It's up top. I do know this thing exists. remember seeing it. Maybe worth the last question. Okay, so I think this thing is called a skillet. That could work. I know she's made pancakes on one of these things before. That seemed to be like the better move. Trying to see if I can look for this thing above the top. I don't see it above the kitchen. Looking on the kitchen. Okay, I think this is what I'm going to use as my last thing. JC!
Yes, how can I help?
Do we have an electric skillet or griddle, or what should I be using to cook the latkes in?
So you can use the pan if you'd like. I do also have a griddle. It's not electric. You've never seen me use an electric griddle. I think you're thinking of your mom. She has one. But I do have a griddle if you'd rather use a griddle.
Sure.
So you can use either one. Do you want me to get the griddle
Yes,
for you?
yes.
This definitely needs to be rinsed off first. Can you do that?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. The griddle just replaces this middle grate. So I remove the middle grate. It's here. And
I
then
use the center thing.
you use this center dial
Okay.
to control the heat on it.
Excellent.
One thing I'm going to tell you with the griddle, this is a safety thing. The oil's not going to sit on top here. It's going to kind of tend to flow into the edges. So you may need to add oil and add the potatoes fairly quickly on a griddle. So you just want like a light coating of oil, and then you can start adding.
Okay.
You got to give it time to heat up though.
Okay. So let's heat. Okay. So it doesn't say what to. Well, it says fry over medium. Okay. So we heat oil in a skillet or griddle until a flick of water splatters and sizzles on the oil. So let's heat this thing up. Yep, that does seem to be heating up. I've got this on medium heat. What's it going to say? Medium heat. But we need to heat the oil.
So you are going to go ahead and add the oil to it. Just be aware you don't want to add a ton of oil, just enough to cover it.
Okay.
If the oil gets to a point where it fills those little channels, then we'll have to stop using it.
Stop using what?
The griddle,
Okay.
because we'll have to get the oil out. Oil can catch on fire very easily. That's why we're being careful.
Okay. Okay, so I poured the oil in spots.
Okay, we're going to change positions of the camera. So we're going to cut off the video a little bit and move the camera over by the oven.
It says, and we're heating the oil in a skillet, and we're going to see if a flick of water from my finger splatters and sizzles on the oil. Nope, not yet. I hear no sizzling. So we're going to let this heat for a little bit more. So this says that it's going to make about 20 to 30 latkes. I don't see a room for 20 to 30 latkes on here, so I think I'm going to make just maybe, somewhere between 5 and 10. No sizzle. An interesting question. It says drop batter into the skillet by the tablespoonful. Let's get a tablespoon.
Okay, we're going to pause video for a minute.
Okay, so we changed the battery, and while we did that, I hear some crackling, so I'm assuming when I do this, it's going to sizzle. There we go. That's a sizzle. Okay, so I believe we can start adding. So now it says to drop batter into the skillet by the tablespoonful. So this is 1 tablespoon. This is also 1 tablespoon. Let's do this. I guess that's 1 latke's worth. Those get combined. Looks like about 1 latke's worth. Okay, I need to add some more oil. Put this down. Some more spots. I'm starting to splatter and I don't want to get hit by it. And one more. Okay, that looks like enough for now. Don't see enough room for more. So, drop batter into the skillet. Fry over medium heat to a crispy brown on the bottom and then repeat. Drain on paper towels. Okay. So, put something like this. Put it on when we're done. Some paper towels above it. I've seen people make latkes enough to know that these are how they're served. So you get paper towels to put them on when they're done. And I suppose, I don't know if we're supposed to flip them. I guess not. But it says when they're crispy brown, we're done. And I need some kind of spatula thing to grab them. Like this. And we're just going to wait until they get crispy brown. And then make some more.
Turn on the fan above the oven, please. It'll be a little noisier, but it's better. Avoid the smoke alarm going off.
So this has been an experience, so we don't know quite how we did yet. I'm pretty sure I got the grading wrong. I think JC probably would have stopped me if I was not putting in flour, but who knows? It may or may not have flour. And I don't know how we did with the onions, but it's maybe a little bit more pureed than normal, but I don't know what difference that would make. The bottoms are getting brown. It doesn't say that. It does say fry over medium heat to a crispy brown on the bottom. So there are ones that are now brown on the bottom, I think. But they're not ready. They don't seem ready on the top. But maybe if I flatten them. This one's a giant one. Don't want to overcook it, but it sure seems like the top is not ready. So get one of the smaller ones.
This is an error in my recording of the recipe. You should flip them over and repeat on the other side.
Okay.
That's the and repeat. I think I did poor transcription. That's my fault.
Okay, so I've been told I am supposed to flip them. It was not in the notes.
It was in the original recipe. I had to retype it to get it to be clear. So my fault.
This looks a little bit more normal. So I'm flipping over the parts that are brown. I thought the repeat was like do it with more.
It's both. I lost a line of text in there.
Okay. It's brown. It's brown. The other two are not quite brown, it doesn't look like. Okay, so we got a little more careful. You can always flip it again, I guess. Get the last one. They look good. They look tasty. Maybe small. Maybe I was supposed to, I don't know. Was I supposed to use more than a tablespoon? What was the thing you were saying to get worried about if it got too much oil?
Just if it starts overfilling the channels where it might spill into the fire.
Okay.
That's what you want to avoid.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're safe there. Yeah, I probably didn't even put in enough oil.
Yeah, I may have overcautioned you. I was very interested in not having to use the fire extinguisher.
Okay. These are going to be tasty.
Are they still pink?
Nope, they are not pink anymore.
Excellent.
So who was who was giving you the advice on?
I called Brian,
Okay.
or I didn't call him. I mean, I texted him. My only concern was well, I don't want to give too much away, but it was possible due to some of the things you were doing that oil from the machinery had gotten into the potatoes, and so I was concerned it might be oil, and in which case I did not want us to eat it. But some Googling determined that this is in fact a normal thing for potatoes.
Excellent.
And then I messaged Brian and he said yes, he's had potatoes turn pink like that before. So it's apparently because if they're left in oxygen, and the pureeing that you did also exposed them to a lot of oxygen.
Got it. Okay, so I don't know if I'm just not willing to sit there enough, but the other sides are not getting as brown as the first sides were. It's a little concerning. I suppose I need to use more oil next time for the next batch.
We'll call that one my fault too, because I made you overcautious.
I did it. Okay, what are we supposed to do here? Okay, I'm going to turn this off.
In 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so we have cut here. So as you can see, we still have a lot more latke mixture, but we've made 8 latkes, and as the last latkes were being made, the oil splatter, as you could see, was starting to get to the point where it was possibly going to destroy the house. So JC came in, told me that my problem was that I needed to put a thin layer of oil on the whole thing instead of just kind of pouring oil and letting it pool where it may. So I think we've experienced the process of me cooking, but the last thing we're going to do
We're going to actually try the product,
eat it.
which we will see how this has gone. Are there any questions you have about the process you'd like to ask me now that you're done?
So what did I do wrong?
So many things. So many. I had to make a list so I wouldn't forget them. Let's see here. Okay. So let me talk about also the things you did well.
Okay, thank you.
I was amazed that you figured out the baking powder, baking soda thing. I do actually have baking soda, but it's in a packet in the seasonings drawer, and I'm not surprised you didn't find it. But I figured you might find the baking powder and might figure out that it's a substitute, and that's what I would generally use, is just the baking powder. So, well done on that. Ooh, we have them ready to taste. Let's go ahead and do
JC's not a big
tasting.
sour cream person. So
Yeah, I don't like sour cream. I'm just going to have mine. I'm going to have a little plain, and then I'm going to try it with applesauce. Yeah, pretty
Really good.
Yeah, I'm very happy with these.
Okay. Okay, well I can make latkes, kind of.
Yeah, the frying part is hard. That's the hard part.
Okay, well
Yeah,
anyway, so what else have I done wrong?
Okay.
Or you can start with what I've done right.
Let's see. I was very proud of you in your initial gathering of ingredients. Well done. I was kind of surprised when you didn't even, I don't know how you missed the flour initially, but somehow you missed the flour. But you came back for that later. We'll get back to that in a minute. You did, in fact, use the flour, by the way.
Excellent.
I would not have stopped you, but you did use the flour. The other, the smaller container that was also kind of with the flip lid that kind of flips open, that's powdered sugar. If you had tasted it, you probably would have immediately known. The small that's more like the little canister is also flour. It's just a different type of flour, so you'd be fine. One of them is for people who know, one of them is all-purpose and one of them is not, and that's why the big container is all-purpose. So yeah, that was fine. On the peeler, when you were peeling the potatoes, your peeling technique was not great, but you got through it. There is, in fact, a part of the peeler called the eye remover that you can use to remove those little eyes. There's a little kind of, if you can bring it to me. I'm going to steal another latke while he's bringing that because he made pretty good latkes. So see this little part with the little kind of scoopy? You can kind of dig into the potato and scoop the eyes out with it. But it's fine. They're no big deal. You know, you can always just leave them in, you know, just a matter of how picky you want to be. Sometimes they can be hard and bitter. That's why you would pick them out. Let's see. Grating. As we later, I ended up outright telling you because the instructions were going to make no sense for you. You did not grate the potatoes. You instead just used the blade and pureed them into a nice gloppy puree over there, which is fine. I mean, you can see the outcome is we have some very smooth latkes. They're more like a potato pancake, whereas the original instructions were making them a little bit more like a hash brown, you know, kind of a together hash brown consistency. This is a little bit more like a little pancake.
Okay.
So it's fine. I mean, honestly, I think it's probably a matter of taste. You know, how many people might like this kind better than...
Okay, so how do you grate?
Okay, so two things. The attachment to do it with the food processor is up on top of the cabinets.
Okay.
In the rarely used attachments bin. There is also, over here, and I'll bring it back over. In the same drawer where Scott located other accoutrements, we have these guys, which these are manual graters. So the other thing that you can do is use one of these. And this one, in fact, is what's called a box grater. It has 4 different sides. And then it has this little bin to catch everything in. So you take the potato and you rub it, and it grates it down into here.
Okay.
And that's how you get hash, this is kind of like your hash brown. Kind of. This is more of a very, very small, fine. That's baked slices.
Got it. Okay.
And this does the same thing, but you can just kind of do it like this.
Got it.
You know, or like there.
Okay.
Over a pan or a bowl or something.
Next thing.
You were initially using what is known as a chop and prep, not a food processor. So the little one, not actually a food processor. It's what's called a chop and prep. It's meant for oh, I just need to dice an onion, or, you know, I need to cut up some peppers. If you were making a quick salsa, you know, you could use that. The other thing is when you're using a chop and prep, you shouldn't just hold the button down. I was actually a little worried that the reason the potatoes might have gone pink is because he was holding the button down and it might have spewed oil or something. But then I found out that potatoes turning pink and oxidization is kind of normal, so it's fine. But I was a little worried about that. That's why I tasted them to make sure there wasn't a chemical taste. But yeah, you don't hold it down. You just kind of pulse it. So you go zoop, 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 zoop.
Okay.
Let's see. Then you found the big processor. I was very proud of you for finding the big processor. And you did a great job of figuring out how to use the big food processor. It took me a while to figure out how to use a big food processor. So, you know, well done on figuring that out. But yeah, then you never actually figured out that there was a separate attachment for it that you could put on that would have made it great things for you. The reason that you have the big hole in the top is actually when you're using the grating attachment that the blade actually spins at the top. So you would actually feed the potatoes in through the big tube. The other little one that kind of the smaller tube that goes inside the like tube lid, that one is more for like if you've got things that you need to manually push down in. So if you had put like a big chunk of potato in, you could use that to kind of press it against the thing to grate it.
Okay.
Let's see. Then you ended up putting it in a pot. We have a lot of bowls, but for some reason you used a pot to kind of gather everything in, but you could have just used bowls. Makes things a little bit easier.
I know where the pots are.
Yes. He knows where the pots are. Let's see. I stopped taking notes at that point because I needed to keep an eye on the camera for a little bit. With the onions, I mean, as you noted, like you'd already not grated, so it's like, might as well just do them the same way. I agree with that decision. Like, it would have been weird to have grated onions in a potato puree, and you would have gotten some weird consistency differences here. Otherwise, I mean, from there on out, you did pretty well. You know, you put in the right amount of stuff. You mixed it. The eggs, you should have used a bigger bowl and really got in there and kind of beat them. That's why they weren't really mixed together that well. But yeah, that was it. You found the right thing to beat the eggs with,
Okay.
you know. And I mean, overall, you came out with something that is a serviceable latke.
Excellent. Well, thanks anybody that's actually watching this that made it through. I will try some other things and maybe pick up some of this information over time, but there's a lot of things I don't know how to make, so we'll see how that goes. Thanks for joining us.
And just a note, the kitchen is fine. We did a little bit of cleanup really quick. It was just there was way too much oil in the griddle, which is what I was afraid of. And so as like little pieces of batter were hitting it, it was popping everywhere. So we just got the griddle cleaned up and moved it out. We're going to finish the rest of the batter using a pan, a skillet. So thanks everyone.
Bye.